A lot of people were talking up the Matthew Matons. A lot of people were talking up, the Matthew Matons of the day out west. Austin Tamagno, I mean, that whole John Dressel, who was second at Foot Locker. But Armstrong snuck in there for the West victory and then got third at Nationals, beating out all those West boys. But again, running down the names for you in this section 2 of 2. We had the first section earlier in the finals for the 5K. Eric Vander Els, Christian Alberico, Elijah Armstrong, Aaron Gebhardt, Edwin Ruto, Kyle Boudet, Mike Brannigan, Dominic Hockenberry, Emmanuel Diagostino, David Eisenhower, Casey Comer, Chase Ballard, and Riley Friedman.
You're just talking about Elijah Armstrong. You can tell just by looking at everybody here in this field, he's built a little bit differently. You might notice he's a bit stronger than some of these other guys. That third Foot Locker cross country, it takes a lot of strength to power up those cross country trails. And he jumped to the lead here now. Elijah Armstrong, as we said before, third at Foot Lockers. He was the West regional champion. He was also a New Balance indoor national champion as a freshman in the mile.
And a couple years ago, you mentioned sophomore year here in that 5K. Now, Connor Mance won last year, but Connor Mance has opted to just continue with that cross-country season, extending it as much as humanly possible. He, in the World Champs Junior Division, Connor Mance won USA Juniors, so reigning champ in this race, beat Armstrong. Mance is not in it, but even if Mance was in it, Armstrong could compete, I think, with anybody in the nation in the 5K. And I mean, this gap is being created. Honestly, don't be surprised if this is very different from the girls' 5K, and Armstrong, within a few laps, is in no man's land. At the Simplot Games, I talked with Armstrong, and he ran, look at him, you're looking at the clock like it's nothing, hair flowing back. He's had that signature hair flow for a while. But the Simplot Games, he went 9:01 on the 200-meter wooden bank track at up in his hometown, Pocatello, Idaho. 9:01 at altitude. And talking to him and his pops afterwards, they were saying he just wants to keep up that pace. Now that sounds outrageous, but if there's somebody that's going to do it, it's going to be the wrestler look-alike Elijah Armstrong.
We're coming through 800 meters, reached in 2 minutes 19.1 seconds. The rest of the field 2 seconds back in 2:21. Evans Rudo is leading that chase pack now as they round the turn, and on the back straightaway, a 20-meter gap as Elijah Armstrong opened up on Evans Rudo and that chase field.
Now Edwin Rudo there in the white from St. Benedict's Prep. He just got overtaken in that chase pack from the same school. It's none else than Edward Cheserek. So maybe trying to follow suit of that high school great, two-time national cross-country champion in high school, then goes to the NCAA and wins back-to-back championships in cross-country, not to even mention his track accolades. So Edwin Ruto does fall back into 5th or so, but do not lose sight of that man. He has had a great cross-country season, is Ruto, and he will be in the mix for this one. I don't know about challenging for the win, because Armstrong just seems to be in another league, but he could fight around that chase back.
On the main straightaway now, your leader, Elijah Armstrong, now leading that chase back, Mike Brannigan. And they will have 19 laps to go. 3:29 at 1,200 meters. So they're just clicking off 70-second quarters here.
So the gap didn't open up as much as I would think. It seems like it even might have reduced after those first couple laps. We have Sean Laverty, a junior from Cumberland, Rhode Island. Rhode Island has a lot of great distance runners, mainly coming from LaSalle Academy, to be honest. That one school that provides left and right some greats. But another tremendous distance runner from the little state of Rhode Island in second. There he is, Sean Laverty. 4:05 here on the clock. And then in third is Grant O'Connor. Grant O'Connor sits in third, and that's Casey Comer in fourth. He is one of the only other few Foot Locker finalists this past fall. Didn't have the race he wanted to, but one of the best runners out of Pennsylvania this year sits in fourth in that red bib.
Coming up now, we'll give you your 1,600 meter split.
Approaching 4:40.
4 minutes and 40.5 seconds. And Casey Comer moves to 3rd place now. They round that turn. Elijah Armstrong, still your leader on the back straightaway. Brannigan in 2nd place. That top 5 now opening up 20 meters on Evans Rudeau from St. Benedict's, who leads that chase pack.
And I apologize, I was miscalling bib 7 there. That, of course, is Mikey Brannigan looking at the Section 1. Brannigan, though, as to be expected, he's a New Balance Outdoor National Champion in the 2-mile from this past spring. And if you recall that race, he had one outrageous battle with Drew Hunter, the Virginia sophomore last year, and he was a low 850 guy. That was one race at New Balance Outdoor Nationals. So Brannigan's the guy, if there's gonna be a guy to beat Armstrong. He had a spotty cross-country season, but he's got one speed and it's fast. And if he can control that, though, and be consistent, he's dangerous, as we saw last spring with his low 850. So 5:52 on the clock.
We just 2 kilometers there, 2 kilometers down, 3 to go.
So, I mean, that's a 2:55 per K, and that 14:35, if they keep that pace up, that's a great time, don't get me wrong, but we know some of these athletes, especially those 2 that are leading, are capable of something even under that time. Brannigan really trying to fixate himself on the back of Armstrong's gray singlet, and we have a new leader in, I don't even know if it's a pack, but the Chasers in bib 8.
It's Dominic Hockenberry of Lehman, Pennsylvania.
So Hockenberry and Casey Comer, 2 Pennsylvania stars this past fall, are trying to reel in the top guns up front in Armstrong and Brannigan. They, without a doubt, seen the most national exposure opposed to any of these runners on the track. Bit different, where almost every runner in the field in the girls was just everybody. I mean, the national accolades went on and on, but for these 2 runners, they most certainly do. 7:03 here on the clock. Brannigan, closest he's ever been on Armstrong.
Coming up on the halfway split.
So you can see on the screen the gap that is being created between the top 2 and 3rd and 4th, the 2 PA boys. 15 meters or so is what they have as they jump on the home stretch. They will be approaching the 2,600 meters through this lap.
They reached the halfway point in 7:22, right on that 14:44 pace. That's what they've been running, just under 3 minutes per kilometer. It would certainly seem to have slowed the last few laps. Armstrong, your leader on the back straightaway. Brannigan in 2nd place. Hockenberry in 3rd. Around that far turn, coming up on the main straightaway now. They'll have 12 laps to go, 11 laps to go.
And the gap has not been widening between these top 2 guys and the Chasers. Anything, it might be reducing. Comer now leads his PA counterpart in Dominic Hockenberry.
And they could be working together here, the 2 of them being Pennsylvania kids. They could be working side by side, stride for stride, trying to close that gap on Brannigan and Armstrong.
Yeah, you know what though? Who I'm surprised to not see further up is Riley Friedman. Riley Friedman was a star out of Georgia, but no, he's not up in the mix.
3 kilometers.
Let's see where he is.
3 kilometers we reached in just under 9 minutes, 8:55.
Friedman crossing the line right now in the white top. He had one stellar season, white and blue. The back is blue. But if you're not getting into it now, I mean, we're approaching that final third here of the 5K. And look at this, Casey Comer, the other Foot Locker finalist, says, it's time to stop fooling around. I want to roll with the big boys.
I think that those 2 could sense that Armstrong and Brannigan were slowing just a bit, and it was giving them the right opportunity to make some moves in the middle of this race to try and close that gap. And they look pretty good right now.
So Brannigan, he's been all over the indoor oval this season, not as much as Armstrong. I mentioned Armstrong at Simplot Games. Brannigan, though, this is his stomping grounds, the Northport senior. He was on a stellar 4 by mile. Some debate if they had that national record or not, but he was one of the guys amidst 3 other seniors in the twins and Justin Leopold. But Brannigan is not with them anymore. He's doing more individual stuff. As we have a mile to go. Mile to go, they're at 10:08. But I'm sure some are pleased with right now what they see with Brannigan. Again, because he's had an inconsistent season, to be frank. He's been up and down. He's had some outstanding performances and some lackluster performances, but this one looks good. He's racing right now. Comer falls off from the rest of the field, as does his other PA runner, Hockenberry. So they made an aggressive move. That might have haunted him.
It was aggressive. It was aggressive, and it was made probably 1,000 meters too soon.
Well, they had to find a way to close the gap and get up there. That's one way to do it. Another way is not what they did, and that could have been more gradually, but this gap now does grow more and more with each lap. So unless they can pull something like that again, it's a race between these 2 guys, Armstrong and Brannigan. 11:18, that's another 70.
These 2 just content to click those off. Just under 3 minutes per kilometer. Casey Comer again trying to make a move. He's broke away from his Pennsylvania teammate, Dominic Hockenberry from Lehman, Pennsylvania. And he is trying to close that gap again.
Now, I mentioned for Comer, he was got 4th at the Northeast Regional for Foot Locker, 20th at Nationals. Not his best performance, but clearly one of the best cross runners. And didn't have the best race at his Pennsylvania state race. He was 6th. There are some other tremendous athletes from the great state of Pennsylvania. But Comer came out here for the 5K, and he is in 3rd. He's kind of still in it. I thought he would fall off more.
You can see he is still working hard. His cadence has picked up just a little bit. He is trying to reel these guys back in.
All right, 12:31 is on the clock right now. It's about a 72 for those athletes, 72. Brannigan just sticking on glue like white on rice right now. Ryan Frazier was playing the I'm not gonna let you get a millimeter. Brannigan's like, take a step. I'll be back a little bit, but I'm not gonna let you go more than this. So it's a battle between these 2 guys as they lap runner after runner here. It's only a 200-meter track, so it's not like the outdoors where it's harder to lap a runner.
So 3 laps to go now. 600 meters remain. It will be just as an exciting a finish in the boys race as it was in the girls race.
Oh, without a doubt, because they're both packed in there right there. They have almost a 40-meter lead or so on Casey Comer. Comer now is alone. Don't get confused here. Elijah Armstrong in the black bib. Brannigan in on the left there. He is in 2nd. 2 laps to go. Let's see who's gonna really unleash something.
You could just see Armstrong take a peek up at the Jumbotron to see where Brannigan was, if he was still there. He doesn't want to turn his head, but he's got to know he's there. So less than 2 laps remain now. Armstrong trying to run away from Mike Brannigan. Brannigan still there, hasn't moved since the opening kilometer.
His sophomore year, Armstrong went 14:28 his sophomore year at New Balance Nationals outdoors, getting 3rd.
Main straightaway now, the 2 leaders. Armstrong and Brannigan hear the bell at 14:15.
Get excited, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, the final 200. Armstrong and Brannigan. Brannigan looks like he's pumping those arms. Armstrong has a great kick, but Brannigan goes wide. Ladies and gentlemen, can Armstrong latch on? He doesn't let him get a beat. Armstrong is 2nd. Mikey Brannigan with the absolutely phenomenal move. Maybe he did it at the right time, but maybe maybe he did it. Armstrong to the side. They're neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, Elijah Armstrong making it exciting for every single fan in the building, as did Mikey Brannigan as well. You want to talk about aggression?
59.5 for the final 400, 27 for the final 200. Armstrong taking the win in 14:41.72 to Brannigan's 14:42.33.
Wow, and look at those guys with the picture on the left of your screen. All smiles for both of them. You gotta give credit to Mikey Brannigan for being aggressive and being smart, latching onto Armstrong. But you wanna talk about wits and wisdom when it comes to racing. Elijah didn't react and let him, didn't lose it. He stayed on him, and then around that final bend, he let it go. I mean, when I saw him at Simplot, I was like, this guy has an evil kick. And Brannigan does as well, but not quite as evil, if you will, as Elijah Armstrong. He raises the banner up there with his hands. 14:41.72, Elijah Armstrong over Mikey Brannigan. It's no national record, but if you want to see some good racing, this is only day one. The boys 5K, Armstrong, your champion.